In this lesson, I want to briefly talk about some of the considerations of using the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI, on your server operating systems. UEFI replaces the legacy BIOS that is really seen in all of the existing computers on the market today, and likely used in all of the servers in your data center. There are a number of limitations with BIOS around the time it takes to initialize, its flexibility, so UEFI is really its replacement and is available in some of the newer server and desktop hardware. UEFI systems typically contain a Compatibility Support Module, or CSM. This CSM module actually allows that motherboard to behave as if it has a BIOS installed, which means we can use our existing installation methods. However, we are not actually then running the operating system in the UEFI mode. As you can see here, this is my Windows 8 machine. But as you can see, I have a BIOS mode of UEFI. This means the operating system recognizes this hardware as UEFI. If I had the Compatibility Support Module enabled, I would not see this. I would see a BIOS mode of Legacy. The reason UEFI is very appealing is that it really enables a lot more communication between the operating system and the actual hardware on the server. Today, it's very common to hear of malware attacks where applications inject themselves between the hardware, i.e. the BIOS, and the operating system, and can then intercept keystrokes, intercept credentials, and really cause a lot of damage. UEFI and Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8, which natively support UEFI, enable capabilities such as Secure Boot. This ensures there is no malware in between the hardware and the operating system, giving you the most secure environment. To install to a UEFI system that has the CSM turned off, you typically won't be able to use your existing USB media. For example, most BIOS machines can boot from an NTFS partition. A UEFI system cannot. A UEFI system must boot from FAT32. This means I need a different method to create my USB bootable media. I cannot, for example, use that Microsoft Store application. So I wanted to quickly walk through the steps that would be required to actually create a UEFI bootable media. And this is really the same process that Microsoft tool performs, except it does it to an NTFS device. I have an elevated command prompt. I'm then going to launch DiskPart, look at my disks, select my USB device, which is that nearly 8 GB disk 9. I'm going to clean it, which removes all partitions and all data from that drive. I'm going to create a partition that is primary. Create partition that is primary. I'm going to select that partition. I'm going to make it active, i.e. bootable. I'm going to format it quickly with the FAT32 file system. Normally I would use NTFS. If I want this to be bootable from a UEFI system, it must be FAT32. I'm then going to assign it and then exit. I can now see that drive in Explorer. It has a drive letter of I. So at this point now, I just need to copy the content of my mounted media, i.e. the ISO file, to this drive. So for example, if my CD-ROM drive, or in this case the ISO has been mounted virtually as the E drive, I would just copy everything from my E drive to that new I drive with these two parameters. And that's basically copying all of the content onto the USB drive, and it will now be bootable on a UEFI system. So that's really the process to enable you to create media that will be bootable for UEFI server and in fact desktop operating systems.